Hi everyone. So this is very exciting. I am joined by Suzanne Ray, Managing Director of the PTS, Tony Shields from Shield Stamps in Australia, and Franz Fedra, just there, from Philasearch. And this is our very first PTS trade news vlog. So we're going to kick off by Suzanne giving us an insight into what's happening in the world of the PTS, and then we're going to have a quick chat to Tony and Franz. I just thought we'd take a couple of minutes just for everyone to introduce themselves. So Suzanne, do you want to give a quick hello? And
Hi everyone, I'm Suzanne. My company is Art Stamp Limited. I've been involved in the PTS, however, for the last 5 years. Firstly on the Stampex committee, then on the PTS Council. And 3 years ago, I took on the role of chairman of the PTS, which was a very exciting role. And this year, with our new chairman, Simon Carson, I'm now still part of the team, leading the team for both PTS and Stampex.
Amazing. Thank you, Suzanne. That's really exciting. So over to Tony. Tony, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name's Tony Shields. I'm a dealer and I've traded full-time from a shop since 1979. Makes me feel old. It must be the grey hair. And I've been coming over to shows in the UK and also around the world since 1987, although not so much recently in the UK. I've been a member of the PTS on a couple of different occasions, but the first time I joined, I think, was 1986 or somewhere thereabouts. So a long time ago. And we've got a shop in Heidelberg in Melbourne. That's not Heidelberg where Franz is used to, of course.
Franz, do you want to share a little bit about who you are? And
yes, I'm Franz Fedra and I'm sitting in Munich, and I'm one of the chiefs of Philasearch. Philasearch is now 21 years old. I think one of the first internet portals for auction houses and dealers, for especially starting with stamps, and now we're doing also antiques and coins.
Amazing. Well, welcome everyone. It's really exciting to have you here on our first ever vlog. I'm going to hand over to Suzanne now, who is going to give us a headline update on what's happening within the PTS.
Thanks, Isobel, and thanks for setting this up. This is a really exciting initiative to kick off 2022. We're already 20th of the year, and it feels like there's already a lot going on in the society, which is really exciting. As I said, we have a new chairman, Simon Carson, and he's got a really strong vision for the society, which is really continuing on what we've been doing around professionalizing the core of the society itself, but also looking for opportunities to strengthen our membership and make sure that Stampex is set as a platform for all of our members to take advantage of as a global world-class show. So that's the agenda we're working on this year, just to let everyone know. We are kicking off this year with 10 brand new members, which is really exciting, and we've had another 5 or 6 applications through this week. So it's really exciting to see that we've got people out there interested in joining us on our journey. And I think for a lot of people, they're recognizing that they want the trade to survive, they want the trade to thrive, if possible, but they don't necessarily have maybe the times or the tools themselves to be able to invest in that. We're all very busy with our own businesses. So people are thinking, it's from £15 a month, if I can support the Trade Society internationally to do some of the work that we're doing, such as this, and thank you, Isobel, then that's a good thing to be doing. And one of the areas of growth that we're really seeing in that is actually our eBay sellers, our top sellers, particularly in the UK, joining the society with the opportunity to have a shield placed onto their eBay shop. So we're pushing on that. The other thing that we're working very hard on at the moment is trying to get a lot of our members who are doing physical shows promoted. We are starting to get back to normal in many countries. So for example, we have the London 2022 International Show next month. and we have over 90 members who are taking stands at that show, and we expect to see many other members there visiting. So the PTS will take a stand at London 2022, stand 31, where we will be there to promote the society and Stampex and be there to support our members. And just yesterday, I let all of our members know who won't be able to physically be at the show that we still love to FaceTime them, WhatsApp video time them, Zoom video call them. So hopefully we can get lots of people feeling like they're part of that show. And then we have another couple of shows where we will have PTS Council presence, CAPEX, which is a really exciting show coming up in June, and then in Westpex as well in April. So that's quite a lot of activity in the next 6 months. And then our minds are always on the next Stampex show. We have a new concept for autumn 2022, which is a live auction taking place at the Stampex show. And that tender is currently underway, which will close at the end of this month. So really excited to see who wants to be involved in that. Let's test the concept this year and then see what else we can do to bring more live auction activity to the physical show in London. We do recognise, however, that COVID is still causing a lot of our members sort of, I guess, restrictions in their day-to-day businesses and in particular international travel. So the PTS is certainly focusing a lot of activity in Q1 on the online promotions of the society and our members. So things like the online directory, continuing to put a lot of investment into that, making sure that that is the first place that any collector can go to buy or sell or just find out more information about dealers, auction houses and other philatelic services. And then hopefully people are following us at PTS and Stampex across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're all over the place and making sure that we're getting as much message out there as possible to anybody who's using that type of those types of platforms. And then the Stampex newsletter, which will now incorporate more PTS news as well. So hopefully collectors will get a bit more information about our member through that communication channel as well. One last thing for the next couple of months is our 2022 Collector Handbook. We issued the 2021 Collector Handbook in September last year. We're already issuing the 2022 Collector Handbook. That's going to be available free for collectors to pick up at London 2022 and at the Autumn Stampex 2022 show in September, October later in the year. And it will also be distributed through one of our member philatelic magazines. So really excited to be issuing another copy of that this quarter. So that's probably everything we've got going on at the moment, except for the day-to-day. So exciting times for us at the moment.
So it's so exciting. It's really what a great start to the year. Tony, Franz, I'd be interested to hear about, I know that we sort of mentioned some of the shows, but I'd be interested to hear about the shows sort of like in Australia and what are the shows you two are taking part in or plan to take part in? Maybe
Isobel,
Tony?
the 4 shows I'm doing for the rest of the year, there's the Canberra National, which is coming up in March, and that's one that Franz has actually done on odd occasions, I think, in the past, as I recall.
You're right.
That's a biennial show, and it's in fact the last show that I did 2 years ago because we've had no shows in the meantime. So hopefully that show goes ahead, because as we speak, shows are being cancelled across Australia again, and it's very uncertain. But I think that show will happen. They go to great effort to organise it, and normally we get a large number of overseas dealers, PTS members, usually come in large numbers to that. But of course, these are strange and wondrous times, and you can't get in, even if your name's Djokovic. So that's the one show in March. I'm doing. I've organised a show in Hobart, which is purely an Antarctic exhibition, and that's to coincide with the Antarctic Festival in Hobart, which is in August. Now, they've never actually held a stamp show there before, and this is an idea that I had to exhibit early polar postal history and postcards and the like. And that exhibition, the festival last time it ran, which was 4 years ago, had a crowd of somewhere near 30,000. So we're hoping to get large numbers of people who have never been exposed to stamp collecting to come to the show, because we're actually right in the main building. So they've got to literally go through the show as part of their coming in door A and exiting door B.
That's exciting.
So we don't know how it will go, because obviously it's very difficult times, but we're optimistic that that's going to get a huge number of people attending it and hopefully some long-term benefit. So there's that show. There's the Melbourne Fiat show, which is an Asian international show, but again, we'll be sadly missing most overseas dealers for the obvious reason. But that is being held at the Caulfield Racecourse in September. And details of all of these I know have been sent to you, so they can be published on the PTS website and so forth. And the only other show that I've got lined up for this year, and I doubt this will change, is I'm doing Ian Bolton's show in Perth. I'm fairly sure Ian, Ace Philatelics is or Ace Auctions, I think is a member of the PTS, fairly sure, ex-director of Gibbons and so on. And that will be the first show I've been able to do in Perth for nearly 3 years. It's a bit like East Germany in its heyday. You couldn't get in for love or money.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds like a very exciting year, Tony. Franz, what shows are you heading to this year?
I mean, the first show would have been where I should be, but I didn't go. Would be Dubai, the Dubai Expo, which is international. It's only a 3-day show, so I think it starts yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And the next one would be London, which I'm not sure if we go. Maybe we only doing the advertisements there, but don't go by ourselves. Because it's a 9-day show, and I mean, I have the problem with the employees if afterwards happens something.
Yeah.
Especially now with the new rules since yesterday for Mr. Johnson. I think it's a little difficult. I cancelled Canberra as it's too difficult to go in. What would be the next? The next would be then Switzerland, which is in May. So we hope that this will be held, because all German shows are cancelled to the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and for the autumn shows, we even didn't make any thoughts yet.
Yeah, it's too early to tell. Really interesting. Thank you both. Should we have a quick chat with you, Tony, about, I know we've just, it would be great if you could just tell us a little bit about Shield stamps. And, you know, I know that a couple of years ago you launched a website. We'd love to hear a bit about you sort of like challenges you faced launching that website, or how you went, went about it and that kind of thing. It would be great to hear a bit about that, Tony.
I've got to say that I'm the wrong generation to be talking to here in some regards. My son and my daughter have been very much involved with the website, which would come as no surprise. We have actually had a website, and for that matter, a computer, since 1984, but it wasn't very good. It's got a lot better due to the input of particularly my son and some of his friends who we've professionally paid to have their input. One of them works for Telstra, who is a very, very large phone company. So he's obviously got an extreme amount of experience, and we've been taking a lot of advice from him. We've been putting a lot of effort into that, because basically in the last 2 years, for almost half of that time, we've not actually been allowed to open our shop. So if you don't have a shop and you can't do any shows, and they're your traditional sources of income, you've got to come up with something. It's not even a plan B, it's a plan C. And so our internet sales in the past were probably 10% of our business, if that. And we've probably in reality multiplied them by about 250%, but it's still a long way off our normal level of business overall. We're still a long, long way down, as to are the other few shops that there are still existing in Melbourne and across Australia.
Do you see a difference between the customer that you're getting online and the customer that you've traditionally seen in the stores?
I'm a salesman, I've got to say. I'm not boasting, but I am. I mean, people come into the shop and I show them things.
Yeah.
On the internet, you just cannot do that to the same extent. And I know we're primarily talking stamps here, but I can do it with stamps. But let me just tell you a little story briefly. So I had a customer come in the other day and she said, oh, what have you got in here that's old? Because she bought in an English penny from 1850 something. Well, that's not old. So I said, look, just put your hand out. And I pulled out a coin of Cleopatra. And I put it in her hand and I said, look, that's just a little blob of brown metal, but that is 2050 years old. And it is possible the lady herself touched it. And you're not selling the item, you're selling the story.
Yeah.
And that lady walked out, the owner of a Cleopatra coin. She never had any idea of coming in to buy, but she was delighted. And then I went for the double whammy and I said, well, I've got Mark Antony as well, so you might as well take that because they were two of the famous lovers of all time. So she bought them both. And you can't do that on the internet.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So tell us a little bit about the store and Shield Stamps and, the sort of anything you specialize in. It sounds like it's very diverse in collectibles. Like, we'd love to hear more about that.
Look, we are fairly diverse because really you need to be these days. We've got very, very strong stocks in certain areas. Clearly Australia and more specialised Australia is something that we've got, is one of our great strengths, and Australian colonies. But I also have a very, very strong collection or stock of early Antarctic material, which is something I've always been quite passionate about. And this year, for example, is the centenary of the death of Sir Ernest Shackleton. And I know that's been on the BBC and the news and so forth in the last week, I think. And there's been quite a high awareness of a lot of that material. Now, I've got very, very strong stock of that early polar material, and we've got to be known around the world in those sort of circles as having a strong collection of it. But we also, my brother's married to a Thai lady, so we have a strong stock of Thailand. We've done a lot of shows over there. And China, of course, is a part of the world that's very, very popular as well. So we've done a lot of shows over the years in Asia. We've done a lot in Hong Kong. Around the time of the turnover, we were doing a show in Hong Kong every month, and business was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Today, of course, there haven't been any for a couple of years for the same old reason we all know, but they will start up again. We booked to go to the Taiwan show, which has now been changed 3 times. I think the international, I'm not even sure whether they've got a quasi date at the moment, but eventually those shows will start again. And Singapore has always been a very strong market for us. So we've got strong stocks of those countries and we do well with them at shows.
And have you been seeing that that customer base in Asia has been shopping online?
Look, we certainly sell a bit online, but the big problem with COVID has been that it's thrown the postal systems into chaos. Right. And so although people have theoretically had more time to sit on their computer and look at the offerings, the real difficulty has been that, we sent a package recently to Portugal. It took 14 weeks. And we were getting daily abusive letters from this person about being crooks. And I'm going, well, here's the postal record showing, the tracking number. And currently it's, I don't know, it was stopped in Vienna or somewhere, or some country that decided that at that stage they weren't delivering anything for the time being.
Oh my goodness.
They've just been issues that have been a real problem and continue to be. I mean, even within our own country, the post has had so much physical volume of mail that they're, and of course they've got the smaller numbers of staff, and they've also got the social distancing, so they can't have as many staff, and they've got large numbers of them actually that are not able to come to work because they're ill. So this has just really caused chaos to communications and supplies.
Yeah, and the market in general in Australia. So are you seeing that because a lot of the trends over in the UK are very much that the collectibles industry hobby is growing quite rapidly because of COVID, because people have been locked down and therefore they are getting into that hobby. Are you finding the same in Australia? Is that where it is as well?
Yes, there's a degree of truth to that. Certainly, we sold a lot of just unsorted bulk lots, you know, sort of big cartons of cheap material and things like that, that people could just spend some time going through and sorting and so on during lockdown when they weren't allowed to play golf or take the dog for a walk. And we, as I said, had quite a few months of that happening. So there have certainly been people doing that. And the other reality too is that at the moment in Australia anyway, interest rates are so close to zero that people actually can afford to fill in a lot of their gaps of their more expensive stamps because they're not really foregoing much in the way of a return from the banks.
Yeah.
When interest rates are much higher, people potentially sort of think, well, you know, I'd rather get the 10% or the 15 or the whatever from the bank. But currently it's like 0.5% or something and it's not worth having. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are potentially plugging some of the gaps and shouting themselves.
Really interesting. Sorry, Suzanne, go on.
Nope. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Franz, what are your thoughts on these sort of like hobby over the last 2 years since COVID? Are you seeing this growth as well?
Yes, I mean, a lot of people, as Tony already said, they went back to their collections. I think they spent more money because the money was lying there. They couldn't travel, they couldn't make holidays. So it's a lot more money in the business as it was before COVID.
Yeah.
And you see it also in the auction business. I think most of the auction had the last 2 years, their best years ever.
Yeah. And are you seeing more auctioneers either start up or auctioneers that were quite small before growing significantly? Because obviously on your website, you have a lot of auctioneers. I mean, how many?
I mean,
are you seeing that? Are you seeing new people into the market?
It's coming new people in the market, or I mean, what Philasearch offers also dealers to do to do auctions, especially the timed auctions, or as we name the online live auctions, which the people love because it's for us the honest auctions, because the auctioneer is no catalog, it's only online, either on the auction house site and Philasearch, or only on Philasearch, and the collectors can make pre-bids, which are only kept in the server, so the auction house only knows who is bidding on which lot, but he doesn't know the top price which is bid. And then the auction starts like a normal auction with a certain day and date time, and then it's done. Now we have auction houses which do it over 7 days like this, because the people can't come to the room.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if he is alone in the room, maybe as it's in Europe, mostly it was allowed with 2 or 3 people in the room, which mostly then are commissioners, it's quite boring. So they let run these, as we name it, online live auctions, and this works very, very well for them.
Right. And you mentioned well, Tony said, that you have to diversify. It's the only way at the moment. You mentioned as well, Franz, that you have now some antiques and other collectibles on the Philasearch platform. Can you talk a little bit about, again, why that is and how that's going?
Especially as a lot of stamp auction houses do a diversing. I mean, they get estates and there are coins and whatever in, and before they gave the coins mostly to coin auctions, and with the coin auctions it's the other way around. They get coin collections, but there's also stamps. And we always say collectors go for everything which is collectible. They don't stay for one thing, as they mostly also don't stay for one area. So we thought, okay, we do also the coins and make it as we did it with the stamps, very special. So stamp auction houses say, okay, it's coins, it's German coins or old German state coins, or it's Australian coins, but it's only Australia or GB, but they don't split it in like in the kings or something like this. So that our system is doing. So the idea is always that the client who is searching gets as quick as possible to that what he really wants to see. Because if he has 500 lots of coins, but the coin he is maybe interested is number 485 and he doesn't find it or oversees it, so the business is lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And Franz, a couple of years, or gosh, it would have been 3 years ago now, in Monaco, Phil, you were talking about language and how that's an important part of the Philasearch build, because I think you have multiple languages and
I mean, we're working up to now with 6 languages: German, English, Italian, Chinese, Japanese. So all the menus are done in the customer's language. So our idea is that he feels home.
with philatelic terms. I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, like all the menu or all the text on a Chinese site is in Chinese.
Fantastic.
So that all the explanation he gets, all, if we press a button and gets an email from us, he gets it minimum in 2 languages, in his and in English. So I think that it's very important, and I think that's also why we have a lot, even Japanese clients, which are very local, or even the Chinese, because I mean, for them, it's much easier if the menu or with the live bidding. I mean, there comes a message up and it's in English, but the English is not good enough. Or the point is, it takes too long for them to translate it in their mind.
Yeah.
So they forgot to bid.
Yeah.
The lot is gone.
Tony spoke a lot about sort of like the impact of COVID on his business and in terms of like being able to attend shows. Have you, obviously we spoke about at the beginning which shows you were going to attend as well, and you sort of like are pulling back from quite a few. How is that actually impacting Philasearch in terms of it being an online business? Is that just from a marketing point of view, not being able to get the name out there as you would have before?
I mean, we do the shows out of 2 reasons. First, it's the cheapest way to see our clients, both sides.
Yeah.
Especially the international, as we have auction houses and dealers worldwide. So it's the easiest way to meet them and to chat with them and hear their needs and also their wishes, what they think a portal or a site would need. And on the user side, it's the same. They get to the stand, they tell us their problems they had. So you can help them sometimes with auction houses or dealers where they have a problem.
Yeah.
So we are always in between.
Yeah. I'm interested, Franz, how, if I was like going to set up an auction house tomorrow, which I'm obviously not going to do, but if I was, how easy is it for me to approach Philasearch and have one of my first auctions as part of Philasearch? Is it quite an easy thing, or have you got different criteria?
It's very easy. It's very easy. I mean, one of the first things what we ask is, are you a professional dealer? So is it a recorded, I hope it's the right word, company? So because we don't let anybody in to sell anything who is private. We are not the eBay, we are not Del Campe. So because we taking care that the material it's sold on Philasearch is good. So that is also the reason Philasearch has agreements with all the international expert committees, like the German expert committee or the IEP, that they look through the lots of their areas as they are on there, and they have special buttons that they can inform us immediately if there is a forgery or something is not okay. Then the auction house or the dealer get immediately an email that he has to either make a notation to the lot or the lot is only withdrawn. And this works very well. So if we tell them it's not okay, it goes immediately off.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting. Thank you so much. I at this point don't have any questions, but Suzanne, do you have any questions, or Franz, Tony, do you want to ask each other anything?
Did we have some items to show? Or did we have, Tony, did you want to do a couple of items? Because I think
I actually sent photos to Isobel yesterday because I'm at home and obviously my items are at work. So two different locations.
Can we see a couple
I
of
can
items?
do this.
Let's get some stamps on show.
Give me 30 seconds.
Franz, how many companies are on Philasearch while we get those up now?
Around 250.
That's amazing. Amazing. And your team size there now?
Pardon me?
Your team size, the size of the Philasearch team?
We are, I think at the moment we are, since yesterday, we are 16.
Wow. That's great.
Let me just correct my screen. I'm hoping that everyone can see that. Tony, do you want to talk us through? This was obviously taken on your phone.
It was taken on the phone, and I think it's actually come through as a sideways photo. I don't pretend that this is auction photo quality. It was just a couple of things that we bought very recently in terms of large blocks of Australian George V. And these are, I would think without doubt, this is the most popular series of Australian stamps collected by specialists. And of course, one of the things that they particularly are keen on is getting the shades identified. And some of the shades can be extremely valuable, particularly in the penny reds. And so I'm very shortly going to send these off to one of the acknowledged experts, because people are going to take more notice of his independent certificate than my opinion anyway. And we might come to the same conclusion, but it's always better to have an independent assessment of it. And,
which expertising, or who would you send them off to be expertised? Can I ask that? Is that okay?
Yes, certainly. There's a gentleman in Australia called Michael Drury, D-R-U-R-Y, who is one of the acknowledged experts, particularly in shades and varieties of George V. He would be the leading expert, I think it would be fair to say. There are one or two others, but he's been doing it for many years. And his background is that, well, he's a policeman in his day, but he was quite an advanced policeman. I don't know whether he actually did forensic work or not, but he's certainly, he's very, very thorough, and his certificates are usually accepted by most people. So the penny red stamp, for example, you know, there are shades of that could be worth thousands of dollars versus just a common garden variety, which might be worth $10 per stamp.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I've also got this one here. Hopefully that will come up. I'm hoping everyone's seeing the Imperial Postage Stamp Album. Yeah.
That's not a particularly expensive page, but it's just a random page in a lovely collection that we bought just before Christmas. And if I run out of things to do, instead of going to the Antarctic, well, I'll be spending some time actually sorting through this and cataloguing it, and then either offering it as an intact collection, which is my preference, but there might be some individual things that I can offer to various clients. But they're a magnificent album. They're just an extraordinary quality album. I think a lot of the British dealers would be familiar with them, but they're one of the most beautiful albums, in my opinion, that's ever produced.
Yeah, I've got one more photo to share, Tony. I'm going to have to stop sharing. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, no, I think it's really nice to share, because I think, Tony, at the start of this blog, you mentioned, you know, there's nothing the same as having somebody come into the shop and physically hold the item, and that you can't do that on the internet. But there are lots of ways that we can show off products on the internet, and I think this is just so nice to see some of your items here.
Yes,
This is exciting because this is the Antarctic.
Pardon the pun, this is the tip of the iceberg. Yes, this is these are 3 items out of my own collection, and at the moment they're not actually for sale because they're my own collection, and I'll be exhibiting those in Hobart at the exhibition there. But the bottom item I bought recently in the UK from a well-known auction house, and I'm particularly delighted with that because, to my knowledge, it is the only item that exists from Belgrave Ninnis, who was a fellow who had the great misfortune to fall down a crevasse with his sled and die in the Antarctic. And it's a very tragic story. And this has been written by him the day they actually landed on the Antarctic. And I don't believe there is any other recorded mail from him during his life.
Wow.
So that's quite special to me.
And your personal collection, Tony, is the Antarctic. That's what you collect.
I do, yes, but early material. It's what they call the heroic era. So the era that basically finished 100 years ago with the death of Shackleton. So the first material I've got is from the Belgica expedition, which was in 1897. And I could have actually sent you a photo of material from that because I just bought a photo from that expedition, which by definition has to be the first photo that can exist from the Antarctic. That expedition was the first time anyone had ever gone down there with a camera. So to have something like that, I just think's quite magical. Yeah. And it's actually signed by the leader of the expedition, who apparently there are only 2 recorded signatures of. So that's something quite special. But it's also something, if I ever wanted to, I could sell very, very readily. There are certainly collectors around who are keen to buy that early material.
Yeah.
And if you look at the middle photo there, the middle postcard there, that was issued by Captain Scott in 1901. And this was, shall we say, the British way of getting to the Antarctic. They didn't use dogs. They believed in pulling sleds, and tough and amazing stuff. Certainly extraordinary if you actually ever read any of the literature as to what they put up with.
How long have you been collecting Antarctic for?
I've been collecting it seriously, I suppose, for about 20 years. Before that, I handled some really nice material, which I sold. And we, from time to time in the hobby or the business, you sell things and then you get seller's regrets. I'd never heard the expression until someone used it on me, and I thought it actually means something. I don't know, Franz, whether you've ever been in that situation, but there are times when you've got some heart and soul in the item and you think, oh, I don't mind if I don't sell that. And some of the things that I've got, well, I mean, they're just not for sale. I mean, once I've had them for a while and got my satisfaction, I'm very happy to pass them on, because in reality, all of us are just temporary custodians, aren't we? Whether it's stock or whether it's collectibles, we're temporary custodians for whoever takes them over upon our selling them or upon our demise, whichever.
Franz, are you also a collector?
Yeah, but I collect very strange. I always say that I don't collect any areas. As I come out of the trade, I mean, I never collect something I had clients for, because I always don't want it to clash with them, that I say, okay, I want to keep it for my collection. So I always collected strange areas, like incoming mail to Saudi Arabia, island covers going from one island to the other island. And now I collect panorama postcards, used panorama postcards from the whole world.
Cool.
That is cool. I love it. What 2 great collections. And Tony, did you collect before you became a trader? Was the reason why you became a trader because you collected? No.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I started collecting when I was 5. I had an aunt that worked at the United Nations, which was rather helpful. Every year she'd send me a bag of stamps from all sorts of exotic places. And that was just, you know, the most exciting thing that happened my year when I got the envelope from her at Christmas time. You know, I wouldn't go to bed until I'd sorted all of them and soaked them all off and put them in the album. And the reality today is that I know commercially those items are almost no value, but that's irrelevant. That's utterly irrelevant. You get the joy and the excitement and the history and the artwork and so forth. And dollars is obviously what we in the trade need, but the passion and the rest of it's really what the collector should be about primarily.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing and joining us this morning. I've had a really nice chat. Hopefully everyone else has enjoyed it as well.
Is there anything else that anyone wants to just say before we close?
Isobel, you have to get my idea or our chat from yesterday to Susan.
I do.
About your live auction.
Yeah, I will indeed chat to her about that.
Okay, look forward to that call. Good.
We had yesterday a long chat.
We had a lovely long chat. Yeah, it's good.
Franz, you must be running out of space in your big spiral with all those names now. How do you, in your advertisement, how do you fit them all in?
We will find a new solution. We already have a new one.
Brilliant.
All the magazines have to be larger.
Yes, that's another idea. Yes.
Hilarious. Thank you so much, everyone. Really nice to have you on, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you
for the invitation and the idea.
Nice to see you. Thank you